More than 150,000 people have been diagnosed with the neurodegenerative condition in the UK, including 6 high-profile stars who've made it their mission to change people's perceptions. They're doing this through their podcast, Movers and Shakers.
Hello and welcome to Movers and Shakers, and once again we're in the pub. I'm Rory Kathleen-Jones, and with me around this very cramped table are
Jeremy Paxman,
Mark Mardell,
Paul Mayhew-Archer,
Gillian Lacey-Solomar,
Nicholas Mostyn.
and this week our subject is you. We've been sifting through the mountains of emails, website comments, telegrams and other misses you sent us, and we've chosen some of the very best and most thought-provoking. We're going to read out 2 each, so seconds out, round 1. Gillian, the driving force behind our Parky Charter, kick us off.
This is from Heather Ireland. She says we're 99% certain that my husband has Parkinson's. Our GP referred him to see a neurologist in July 2023. We are still waiting, she says. I phoned the relevant hospital to be told there was a 38-week wait.
Oh, God.
But wait a minute, not to be seen, but to come top of the list to be offered an appointment at a future date.
Oh, God.
I mean, what do you do? It's just hopeless, hopeless.
So we're joined now by 2 of the team from that podcast. Saw a moment ago there, Rory Kathleen-Jones and Mark Mardell. Good morning to both of you, gentlemen. We got a little glimpse there, Rory, of your gathering, your podcast. Tell us about the Parky Charter. What's going to be happening today?
Well, good morning. The Parky Charter is something that really was Gillian's brainchild. You saw her there. She pushed us to do this. Some of us were not so keen. In the end, we all rallied around it, and we've come up with 5 things we want to change to improve Parkinson's care. I won't go through them all, but that you heard in that clip, the most important one is that people are waiting sometimes months, sometimes years to get to see a neurologist to get a diagnosis. And then they wait more years between appointments. And we want that to change. We want a whole host of other things to change to up the profile of this condition, which is affecting more and more people and which seems like the Cinderella of diseases. It just doesn't get the attention it deserves. It gets a cliche view from government. It doesn't get much money for research into a cure. Less than £7 million was the last figure we heard that the government spent on research into Parkinson's. So we want all of that to change, and we're taking our charter to Downing Street with a petition backing it.
Yeah, and Rory, I mean, you're all, pretty much all of you well-known former journalists. You'll know the impact of a group of people literally, physically going to Downing Street, handing something in. You'll be well aware that...
Staggering up Downing Street, Charlie. Staggering and lurching. We'll make it. We'll make it.
Well, you will know very well that in itself, that will make an impact. That will make an impact.
Well, I hope so, because we since we started this podcast a year ago, we've been amazed by the impact, the number of people writing to us saying, thank goodness somebody's at last talking about this, because we feel unheard. We feel like nobody really cares. And we really want to... we are, as you kind of point out, we're privileged. We're lucky. Most of us get pretty good care, but there are lots of people out there not getting good care.
Mark, morning to you. It's quite odd for me talking to you kind of on breakfast as a guest rather than as a reporter, and you being out and about. How has Parkinson's affected you?
Well, it makes me slower. It makes me just very much slower, really, and my voice is affected. It's not too bad this morning, but sometimes it gets very weak, and sometimes by the evening I've almost lost it entirely, which really has, I must say, undermined my sense of self, because, as you say, as a broadcaster, I was so used to being booming, and my wife used to tell me, quieten down, you're shouting all over the room, everybody can hear you. And now I sometimes have to put my hand up, even in the family, sort of when we get together, to say, I'm still here, you can still hear me. Well, you can't hear me, but please pay attention. So, yeah, it does undermine your sense of self. But also it's given me a new purpose, I think, with the podcast, because I never thought for a million years we'd end up as campaigners. We started out wanting to educate ourselves about the disease, inform others, and, of course, entertain. Good BBC values, of course. But as the horror stories came flooding into people, listeners, we grew from being shocked to being outraged. So we thought we must do something. We've all got sharp elbows and figuratively loud voices, even if mine isn't always loud. So we thought we'd shout a bit and make a fuss and move and shake the establishment, I hope.
I know what you did there, Mark, move and shake the establishment. You know, it's funny, isn't it? When you get used to, when you dig into something, you realise how ridiculous some things are. And the thing that struck me, out of this Parky Charter, is when it comes to regular assessments. Now, you know, for them to stop in order for you to get benefits, in order to keep receiving benefits. Parkinson's is not something that suddenly gets better. You may have days that are up and down, but it is degenerative largely. So what is the point? I mean, it just calls out, this charter just calls out the need for regular assessments for benefits.
Well, exactly. It's ridiculous. People who've been assessed, they know they have Parkinson's, and yet when they're applying for benefits, they'll see people and then see how they are on the day, and they might be okay. I mean, I hope she doesn't mind me saying, but Gillian, the other day when we were recording a podcast, she was fine, and then she took a chip off Jeremy's plate that was combated with her drugs, and she later froze for about 15 minutes in terrible pain, and then was fine again afterwards, chatting away. So if she was seen in that either side of her episode, they'd have said, well, what's the matter with you? Why do you need benefits? Why do you need a blue badge for parking? And that's what happens. Instead of recognising it's a degenerative condition, so we want to educate people. And I think the other thing, which isn't necessarily part of the charter, but part of the podcast campaign, is there's nothing to be ashamed about being ill. There's no reason. And then so many people say, and it's so gratifying to get these sort of emails. So many people say, I now don't feel ashamed to go out, or I know there's other people in the same condition, because people were just sitting at home, suffering in silence.
It's such an important message, Mark. And I know, Rory, that in amongst what you do have a laugh. And Mark, can you just explain to me, did you just say that Gillian took a chip off Jeremy's plate? Did I get that right? What, this sounds like a major calamity. What happened?
Well, I mean, Jeremy didn't mind because he always comes in and has his Scotch egg and chips.
Take his pint.
That would be dangerous.
No, she didn't take his pint. No, she left his pint alone. But I mean, yeah, she just froze up because you see, I mean, that's another thing. It's about information about when you first diagnosed. Nobody or often people don't tell you what you should do. And one of the things is when you're taking a particularly sort of drug that's very often prescribed for Parkinson's, you shouldn't eat anything within a half an hour on either side, because it just blocks up the proteins going into your brain, as I understand it. But she thought she'd be all right with a chip, but no.
It's been lovely talking to you both this morning, and we look forward to seeing the pictures. It's later on today, is it, Rory, that you're going to be in Downing Street?
Yeah, we'll be there 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Very good. We look forward to seeing that. Thank you both very much. We wish you well.
Take care.
You do want to change the world now with this Parky Charter. What's the point of it? What's the aim of it?
Well, we never thought in a million years when we started this podcast that it was going to end up with us marching up Downing Street on a campaign, because we started in good old BBC fashion to educate ourselves about the disease, inform others and entertain as well. But the more we heard people's stories, horror stories of the way they'd been treated by clinicians, by politicians, by general public in some cases, the more we were shocked, and then the more we were outraged, really, and we thought we've got to change this and do something about it.
OK, so the 5 steps. Give us an idea of the sort of things that they cover.
Well, for instance, I'll speedily go through speedy specialists, instant information, Parkinson's passport, comprehensive care and a quest for a cure. Let's just take one of those speedy specialists. The NHS says that from seeing a GP who suspects Parkinson's to seeing a consultant shouldn't take more than 18 weeks. On our latest mailbag edition, which will go out in a few weeks' time, somebody wrote in to say it took, I'm just leaning forward to check my 38 weeks not to see a specialist, but to get to the queue where you do see a specialist. I mean, that is disgusting, really. Now, I'm lucky, my neurologist in Surrey, I see pretty regularly, and last time I saw her was on Tuesday, and she said, hope to see you again in 3 months, but I don't know, because my list is growing and growing.
Right. I mean, and I don't know if the Charter assesses this, but one of the things I know that, well, you have done really is change attitudes to Parkinson's. And particularly, I think, as I understand it, some of the ideas that people, well, workplaces could introduce that would allow people who have Parkinson's to carry on working.
Yes, and I think that's a vital point, because often people forget that. I mean, most people who get diagnosed are men. Most people are over 60, but the cliched picture of somebody with Parkinson's isn't necessarily true. There are lots of younger people who get diagnosed as well. And so, yes, people should be, because this is one of the things that somebody wrote to me and said, well, you know, you can't expect the NHS at the moment to give you any more money. Some of these things do cost money, others don't. And things like our pamphlet, our campaign for a pamphlet once you're diagnosed, could save money, because you've just told simple things like, watch out what you eat when you take your drugs, or in relation to it. Make sure you do exercise, something I've ignored all my life. But I mean, I have started Tai Chi, I have started other exercise now. And if I'd been told that when I was diagnosed, it would make a difference, and people aren't. So, and that saves money, because, you know, you stay out of hospital longer, you don't fall over. So it's just...
Mark, you must have been in Downing Street countless times reporting on people going into number 10, and here you are now on the other side. How does that feel?
Odd, really, yes, that's true. And I mean, some of us in the group did expect to see the Prime Minister shake his hand and hand it over. I never really expected that. And he is out doing something bizarrely on health today. But he has said that he supports our excellent work, and his political secretary has said the Charter will rightly receive the attention it deserves. Now, I'm a cynic, and that produced in my mind an image of Sir Humphrey screwing it into a little ball and throwing it in the wastepaper bin. But maybe it means they will adopt it. Maybe they will.
We shall watch that space.
And I will say, it's not the end, it's the beginning.
Lovely to see you, Mark Mardell.
Oh my God. Well, it wasn't particularly easy, as you'll recall. And at times I felt as though it was too much of an uphill struggle, to be honest. But I think, I don't know, you have to answer that more than me answer that. I don't know how you all came round. I was just so, basically, we all started this, didn't we, as the laugh and a moan in the pub. Nobody thought it had much of a serious intent beyond that. And then suddenly we started getting all these letters. First of all, it didn't start off as a serious project at all. We thought that it was a laugh and a moan, as we keep saying. And then suddenly all these letters started pouring in from nowhere. People saying, my God, I haven't seen a consultant for a long time. I was not given any information. I don't know what's going on. And I felt very strongly that it's like, I'm going to say something ridiculous now, but it's like that old Spider-Man thing about with great power comes great responsibility. But somehow the Parkinson's community have given us a voice, and we've got to use that voice. And it's no good just having a laugh and a moan anymore. We're here to do more than that. And now it's up to us to sort of make sure that things get better for people.
And we've got a voice today, we're going to...
You certainly have. We're going to yell and scream. Lots of people here already. And I'm really encouraged and just delighted that you lot came round, because without the rest of you, I couldn't have done it on my own. So thank you so much. And I'm quite emotional about it all, actually.
You're the voice of people with Parkinson's, and you have got, as I've said before, the agency to make everybody aware of what is not being provided to people with Parkinson's. Just the basic care that every other individual with any other condition can get, you can't get. And you are going to really, really change things for the Parkinson's community. And I think together, what a powerful voice with the 3 charities and you, we can do anything. We might even be able to one day cure Parkinson's.
That would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
That would be absolute. But in the meantime, care is really, really important, as you know, and making sure you've got access to a nurse when you need one, you get that speedy diagnosis, and all the information you need is paramount to help you live the life that you want to live.
And you have to be diplomatic and have relationships with everybody, but you came to the pub and urged us to get Aggie.
Yeah.
And when you'd explain what that meant to the older members of us?
Yeah, yes, and look, you've done it, and you've united the community. There are so many people now that I've met that are so proud that people who've got Parkinson's are stepping forward and saying this is not right. And you have really embodied that with your enthusiasm and the Charter, so it's brilliant.
Do you think there's a real hope that they or the next occupants of this place would listen at all?
So as you know, with Parkinson's, you've always got to have hope, and I have a huge amount of hope but I've got reality too. All we are asking for is what is promised in the NHS Constitution, nothing more. So we shouldn't have hope, we should demand that, but we should have hope for more money into research and then better care.
It is absolutely fantastic, everything that the Movers and Shakers have done to raise awareness for the petition and the Charter itself. And I have to say, Mark, I'm so pleased to see cure in the Charter. Honestly, if we can cure Parkinson's, then the number of people living with the disease will reduce, and therefore we'll be on a much better footing. So it's great to see it included.
I was just wondering the other day when I just wrote something about Parkinson's, and I automatically used the phrase incurable. Should we be saying that?
I think we know more about the biology of the disease now than we ever have. And with that, we've got some very, very specific treatment targets that we can work on. And I think you'll have been seeing that with the news that's been coming through, looking at the anti-inflammatory approaches, or looking at trying to improve the energy of the cells. Or, even if we were to go further afield, and I know you've been talking to Roger Barker, looking at replacing cells that have died off with precision. I think that precision through understanding the biology is really going to help us with Parkinson's. And I think we are getting there. I really do think we're getting there. Very encouraging phase 2 trial results. We're expecting phase 3 trial results later this year.
Because everything's incurable till it's not.
Well, I think the more we know, the more the biology evolves, the more we'll be able to know, and then it will become incurable, and that would be so exciting. Mark, as we said the other day, our job at Cure Parkinson's is to put ourselves out of business. So,
and do you think this lot or the next lot will listen?
It would be wonderful if they would actually properly invest in Parkinson's research, given it's the fastest growing neurological condition. And I think the Neurological Alliance have just produced some new stats that were talking about but I think I can't remember, certainly it was 1 in every 6 people in this country will be affected by one neurological condition or another. So addressing neurology properly and in a really consistent way feels so important. So it's not just dementia. There are other neurological diseases that really urgently need attention. Parkinson's is next on the list, please.
Very easily, please.
Yeah. And look into this camera here, please, on your right.
He's not impressed.
Wonderful, thank you. Could I hold you and bring the CEOs of the charities in, please?
Oh, can I grab a shot of you first?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Got everyone in if we can.
Sorry.
If you're one of the charities, try and mix it up a little bit.
We'll get some blues and
Everybody. Wonderful, thank you. Thank you all as well. Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Just go through there and then wait for everybody else. We'll all go up in one group. There you are, down the bottom. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
How's that sick in trap?
But I
It
think
was
what
Gillian's
happened-
idea, and we all
Yeah.
thought it was a really rotten
No,
idea.
I'm not going to be I wasn't a doubter.
Oh, yes, you were.
No, I was
Yes.
not. I was
Well,
not a doubter.
You wanted it in Latin.
No,
No.
I wanted it to be called Magna Carta.
And the amazing thing is that since last March, since 13 months, we've made 37, 38 episodes.
Yeah.
And we know that if we'd been doing it through the BBC, we'd still be discussing the pilot.
Yeah.
I think what happened is that we started off just trying to educate ourselves, inform people, entertain them. And as the stories came rolling in, horror stories of the way people have been treated by various different people, we became shocked and then outraged. And with Gillian's help, we found a way of doing something better. So we hope we can.
You can hear the
move,
demo happening now.
Move
Yeah.
and shake them inside there.
What response are you hoping for from the charter and the petition?
We want all our demands to be met in full.
Immediately.
But we are realistic enough to know that may not happen. But what the main thing we want to do actually is raise the profile of this condition, because it's had a very low profile. It's got a cliched profile. People think it's just a bunch of shambling old men. Okay.
Speak for
yourself.
Apart from Gillian. And if we can do anything to raise the profile, get a bit more understanding, not just amongst politicians, but amongst the rest of the country, amongst the people who assess people with Parkinson's for benefits.
I mean, if we say to you Parkinson's, you probably have no idea what that means, other than thinking it's a tremor, which 30% of people don't even have. You don't associate it necessarily with all the other things that happen. And that lack of understanding means that it's terribly difficult for people with Parkinson's. I used to lecture, I'd go on the bus to lecture and at 11 in the morning, and I'd hear people mumbling, "Oh my God, she's drunk again, look at her." And that is kind of hard to take when you're not drunk. And similar sorts of misperceptions occur all the time. Lots of people don't even leave their homes because of that. You know, they're scared.
Well, as you rightly said, I mean, in the benefits assessment system, they will often give a short-term assessment with a review after a year on the basis that you might have got better.
Which you ain't going to do.
Oh, we're not going to get better.
We're not.
This morning, they were saying that distinguishes so many, particularly I did really listen to people, is that they're so boring, and I was just there's not those podcasts are so boring. They are mind-numbing. Like
I have in my hand a piece of paper. Oh, but I've left it back there, I think.
Fantastic! Well done, all of you.
Sponsored cycle life for Parkinson's. That would right at the start point. It was and we've got no. Absolutely not.